Good morning, Don Palayo checking in. Today is Sunday, August 17th, 2025. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm working to try to put out more content. I know I've said that before. It's just, the past week's been a little bit hectic, so I'm going to try to get a little bit more regular with this. But it is Sunday morning, so I am back over in Walkertown, near my parents' house here. I'm getting ready to go visit with them for a little bit. It's really weird. I just turned 49 this week, and I mentioned a little bit before, it's a little bit strange, as you get older, seeing everyone around you getting older. And there's something about your parents that, at least for me anyway, that it's like they're perpetually going to be like in their 40s. Like in my mind, they're like perpetually in their 40s, and I'm 49. So my mom is 69, my dad is 74. So, and it's really weird for me to think about them at that age. It's like, that doesn't sound right to me, it's but it is, it's math, right? So my dad was out in the yard doing some work yesterday. My mom went out there, and he was laid out on the ground, and my dad doesn't take it easy, unfortunately. He doesn't know how to take it easy. He's not the type of guy he's one of those guys that wants to get out there and act like he's 20 years old, and he was mowing the yard, and I think he may have their yard, there's some places where there was a bit of an incline or decline with the hills, and I think he may have slipped and fallen trying to mow the yard. And he's okay from what it sounds like, but he was a little. It took him a bit to get up, and it's like I told them, I'm happy to come over here on the weekends and mow the yard for them, but my dad does it during the week when I'm at work. It's like. So he's real stubborn about that. He's real stubborn about it. He doesn't want to listen, or they have plenty of money. They could easily pay someone to come mow their yard for them, but my dad insists that he's going to be the one that does it, and it's just so it's just one of those things. But hopefully he'll take it easy. He just does not know how to. He doesn't know how to do that. He just, that's just not, he's, I think my dad is battling a little bit of depression, as he's getting older. He has a little bit of macular degeneration, so he's got some vision problems. And I think all of it's a little bit depressing, and I can kind of understand that. You're getting close to the end of life. I can see where that might be a little depressing. I might deal with a little bit of that later on. 49's not so bad. I think you get into your 60s and all. I think I could see where that might get a little bit depressing, but. I'm just going to try to enjoy it as long as I can, right? That's all you can do. I mean, it's better to get older than not to get older, right? So, I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on life after death. A lot of people think they know, or have a belief or a faith of what lays on the other side of death. It's hard to know. It's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. It's sometimes I think it's going to be just like when you go in for surgery and they put you in anesthesia. You don't remember anything. You're out, and it might be something like that. Or, they talk about how the soul leaves your body, and I don't know. Sometimes I've had periods in my life where I've almost like it was like I was having a memory from a past life. I mean, reincarnation is a belief that some people have in certain parts of the world, and sometimes I think that could be that we do come back as a different person, and we've kind of forgotten our past lives. Although occasionally we might have just a glimpse, a little flashback to something that happened in our past life. I don't know. Nobody really knows, for sure, 100% certain. A lot of people act like they think that they know, but nobody really knows until we get to the other side. So we have faith, we have hope. I grew up in a traditional. I grew up in a Mormon household. I served a mission for the Mormon Church, but I haven't been active. I haven't been very active in church in 20 years plus. So it's been quite a while since I've been active. There are reasons for that. You go through divorce, especially, and it kind of takes it out of you a little bit. People look at you different. The one thing I don't like about most of the things about the church itself, I liked. It has very traditional values, very family oriented. But there are some things about the church that I didn't like as much. One of the things was it can be very cliquish. What I mean is, money, the wealthier people tend to stay around the wealthier people. They don't, a lot of people have noticed this. The Mormon Church, especially like starting in like the 90s, it really started getting it to be all about the money. It wasn't always like that, because I remember going to church back in the 80s, and we had some regular blue collar people that were just regular Joes that were in the church leadership there. In the 90s, it got away from that. And it was like, I remember we had this guy move up here from Texas, and nobody even had met the guy, and automatically they made him bishop. And I thought it was really weird that someone that nobody knew was like immediately given a role of a bishop. And I thought that was weird. Turns to find out the guy was a multimillionaire. And it's like, would they have done that if he hadn't been a multimillionaire? Probably not. Everybody was kind of falling all over themselves for this guy. And that kind of bothered. I wouldn't say it really bothered me that much, but even at the time, I it was like, wait a minute, that's not, that shouldn't be part of the equation to me. But ever since that happened, ever since that guy, all the people in leadership have been like attorneys, business executives, people making a ton of money, and it's been like that like since the early 90s. And it's like, I don't know, it shouldn't bother me, but it does bother me a little bit, because that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's been a long time since I've seen just a normal average person as a bishop in this area, at least in this area. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed, but there's other reasons that I've stopped going there too. As I kind of went through all of the divorce drama and all that, when you grow up in the church, you don't expect to get divorced. I never thought I would ever get divorced. That was not something on my radar at all. I never had even considered it. And then I got married, and I was really young when I got married. I was 22. I hadn't dated hardly at all. I'd only been on before my first wife, I think I had maybe been on 3 dates, for real. And I think that really backfired on me. I think I needed to date a lot more than I did. I I didn't know a whole lot about girls when I was younger. I I didn't have any sisters growing up. I didn't ever hang out with girls that much. I was either playing baseball or, you know, just everything that I did when I was younger. There just weren't that many girls around, you know. I did go to church dances when I was, you know, in my teens, but I don't know. I was always a little awkward around girls, and you know, as I've gotten older, I think I've just started to realize, you know, I stopped feeling, you know, when I was younger, I really thought that I was going to find somebody that really loved me and really wanted to be with me and me specifically, you know. I thought, and it would go both ways, you know. I thought that there was going to be mutual feelings going both ways. I have never found that. I'm almost 50 years old and I have never found that. There's been girls that I've had feelings for. None of them ever had feelings for me, and that's just the reality of it. It is what it is. So and I, you know, for a while that was kind of difficult. I mean, I've been married twice, but it's like my first wife, I really just feel like, you know, these women, they just want to get married. They just want to be married. But they're not really in love with us. It's like they just want to get married. It's like there's a disconnect with me there. It's like that doesn't make sense in a man's mind, at least not in my mind. Why do you want to marry some guy that you're not even really in love with? That doesn't make sense to me. I do not understand that whatsoever. It makes no logical sense in my mind. So it doesn't make sense. To me, there need to be some feelings involved. There should be some emotional attachment to the other person. I've never experienced that, and I've kind of given up on ever finding that. I guess that's kind of where I'm at this point. Kind of disappointing, but it is what it is, you know. So I've more or less stopped looking for that. I don't even know if it exists really, what I was hoping to find. So it is a little bit confusing to me. But going back to the church, it's just when you're a single person, twice divorced, being at the Mormon church, it's kind of like you're surrounded by a bunch of families with their little kids, and they're all sitting. It's depressing. It's depressing being there now. It really is. I started getting really depressed every time I'd go to church. I was when I was living in Florida, I would go sometimes, and there were a couple of days that I was sitting there in the main sacrament, what they call sacrament meeting. I had to get up and leave. I just wound up getting up and leaving, but I just couldn't sit there. It was just depressing the living daylights out of me, and so I just got up and left. And I haven't really attended church on a regular basis in. I went some in Florida, but not. I wouldn't say where I was really active. The last time I was really active was probably like 25 years ago. I haven't been through the temple since 2001. 2001 was the last time. It was 6 months before 9/11 was the last time I went through the temple. So anyway, I think I just kind of gave up on all that. So you just kind of like, here I am, 49 years old, got two daughters. One's getting ready to turn 21. One is going to be 14 in December. And I'm starting to think about long term, in terms of retirement. I want to leave something for my kids. I'm going to be taking out a new life insurance policy here, probably the next couple months. Once this one bill falls off of me, I'm going to take out a new life insurance policy. Um, our company has a product, term 80, which it's not a level term. It's the premiums go up every year a little bit at a time. But I could look at for a 30-year term, but I think if I got a 30-year level premium, it'd be a little bit too much right now. The term 80 will gradually go up, and as I get older and older, the premiums start getting a little elevated in my 60s. But when I get to that point, we can kind of reassess our needs. But that policy will stay in effect until I'm 80. So anyway, something I'm thinking about. But I'm going to take out $1 million policy. That would allow me to leave both of my kids $500,000. Ashley is already inheriting a house. I would probably leave my house to Piper. So my kids would be in a pretty decent situation at least. And then, whatever investments I have. I used to think about, retiring early, trying to retire at 58, 60. And I could still do that. I think 60 could be a possibility. I think it's more likely 62. But now I'm starting to think, do I want to do that, or do I just want to keep stacking for my kids? And I guess I'm just gonna have to feel that out as I get older and see how my health is, things like that. But we're just gonna play that by ear. The country is changing. I think some people are like, I see videos on YouTube, this is the end of the United States, and it's like, no, I think we're just kind of going through a bit of a transition phase right now. Time of transition. If you look at how the American economy was before the internet, before Windows and the internet, the boom in the 90s, the economy was very gradual in, the stock market and all would just gradually rise. The economy was growing, but it's slow and steady. Since the 90s, it's just been gas to the pedal to the metal. Just floored it. And it just accelerated all this growth, and there was all this hype about how wonderful everything was going to be, and because of all this technology. And I think we're starting to get we're falling back into a more steady, slower pace of growth, and I think that's kind of where we're at. But so that's just kind of where we're at this point. But anyway, it's just something to kind of think about. But I don't know. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. I think we're going back into a slower growth period, where there are still some technologies that are in the pipeline that I think could cause another spike again. I think quantum computing and all of AI and all of that could ramp up the economy. There's some concerns that I have about all of that, though. The United States, our power grid needs a lot of work. We need more nuclear power plants, more dependable, a better grid. Our grid is pretty fragile, I think. Hopefully they'll be working on that in the next few years. They want to keep building all these data centers, but we don't have the power grid to support it. We're going to have rolling blackouts if they're not developing more energy. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to head over to my parents' house now at 7:30, and I will post this video. You guys leave your comments. Let me know what you think. I'll be in touch. Probably do another video later on today, maybe. And this is Don Pelayo checking out.